A psychopath, on the other hand, only needs a predator's brain. So their manifestation of what I believe a psychopathic individual is a predatory consciousness that develops the brain it needs in this life. So it develops a brain that's just for predators. So it doesn't develop its limbic regions. It doesn't develop its frontal cortex. Well, they're obviously there, but it doesn't utilize them. If you look at them under CAT scan, these areas are always deficient when they're switched off. But they do have an overactive reptilian cortex at their brainstem, which literally floods their with the brain with things like norepinephrine and oxytocin receptions in their brain are very heavily geared towards reward and satisfaction. So that's why they have quirky brain, not so much structure, processes. A lot of the things that scientists will point to as proof that psychopaths are damaged or broken, such as a missing septum or the different activity they have in their brain, also shows up in some empathic people. So it's not hard and cut and dry thing. So we do. That's what I believe. We all create our own reality, like it says. Psychopaths create a predatorial reality based on a predator's brain that they need, and we create an empathic brain. Now, this is where the crux of the situation comes in. How do we deal with them? Okay, knowledge. Psychopaths do not target people who are aware of psychopaths. They won't go near them. It's as simple as that. A psychopath, I recently did, for my next book that's coming out soon, I recently interviewed 2 psychopaths in the flesh, and they were the real deal too, both here in Ireland. And they both told me the same thing, that they can spot a person walking down the street who's highly empathic.
Wow.
After what? Yep. And that's who they'll go for. And I asked them, can you recognize another psychopath? And he says yes. In the same way that a gay guy can go anywhere in the world, they have that gaydar thing, and they can see another gay guy, a psychopath can do the same. And I said, that's why they don't team up. They've no interest in each other because they can't get anything from each other. So that's why psychopaths, unless they're in something like a political party, don't cluster. It's almost like it's almost like an accommodation they make for each other in a situation like that. They do know exactly what their food source is. That's all. That's literally what their energy source is. They'll suss those people out. They will find them and they will get them. And they will not go near anybody who is aware of what psychopaths are. I can tell you now, I am never bothered by psychopaths. They don't even really email me anymore. They don't wind me up. Then when I do talk to them, it's almost like I wouldn't say it's respect I get from them, but it's almost like they know they're not going to waste their time trying to mess with me because I'm aware of everything and every little trick they do. But I will say this, to meet a psychopath that has completely removed their fake persona because they know they can do it around you is one of the most disturbing experiences you'll ever have in your life. It is like meeting an alien being or a demon or something. What is behind them is truly an appalling vista that's quite frightening to be around. There's literally nothing in there. It's like being condescended to by a storefront, a store window mannequin. And that's what they're all like inside. There's nothing in there. And they all talk about this sense of emptiness. But they have a glow about them as well. And that glow is it's an artificial glow. It's based on how they manipulate and flatter people. And they know exactly who they're targeting. So if you want to avoid them and you want to stay empathic, get knowledge about psychopaths. And once you have that knowledge, and once you really know it and you're really secure in it, they'll never bother you ever again.
Okay, that makes sense. So it doesn't sound like you probably run into psychopaths that are married to one another very often then.
It doesn't exist. Now, you may have, like, the other spouse may have become a horrible person just by being around this thing. But they don't exist. There's no use for each other. It's with a psychopath, it's always a host-parasite dynamic.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Well, thank you very much. And next up, we have Green Meadow.
Hi, Thomas.
Hello, Green Meadow.
I have a question. John Lash talks about the victim-perpetrator bond as a toxic dynamic that has been continuing throughout history and has been supported by religious beliefs. He believes that some of the religious tenets, such as turn the other cheek, function to keep empathetic victims in line while perpetrators can continue to be abusive. Do you think that the religious mind manipulation may have allowed psychopathy to arise in the first place?
Well, it wouldn't have caused it to arise in the first place, but my God, has it, well, there's a pun for you. That religion has aided psychopathology. Organized religion has been, along with media and big business, has been the best thing that's ever happened for them. The rules they've created, just think about them. Unconditional love. You also get this in the New Age thing as well. Unconditional love. That's like a dream come true for a psychopath. You should not have unconditional love for anything except your children or your pets, because they're totally dependent upon you. Or you don't have unconditional love for other adults. You just don't. That's a very dangerous game to play. And you get the whole thing of turning the other cheek and, loving your enemies. That's exactly what psychopaths want. And religion is full of that stuff. And on the surface, it seems very on the surface, it's a very appealing thing to us empathic people. This idea of just loving everyone being nice and being friendly. But it doesn't work like that. Because the fact is that not all, when our grandmothers told us that everyone has some good in them, that's simply not true. The psychopaths love that stuff too. Yeah, religion has been very, very, here in Ireland, just watching the Catholic Church and the child abuse stuff, the arrogance was astounding, there was one Catholic priest here, Father Sean Fortune, who, he used the image of the priest to target altar boys, and he portrayed himself as a supernatural being who had powers, and his own sense of narcissistic grandiosity was incredible, and he could not have done that if he wasn't a priest. So yes, I agree.
Wow. Yeah, it's kind of scary. I'm not even sure what you do about that.
Yeah, you don't need a middleman to reach your higher self. That's the bottom line. You don't need to be a member of a church or anything. If you want to communicate with the higher part of yourself, it's a personal thing. You don't need any middlemen, so you don't need religion.
Yeah, that makes sense. The more I look at it, it almost seems like the religious rules were written by psychopaths.
Well, look at the Ten Commandments. Look at look at the God of the Old Testament. I cover that quite extensively in the book, Puzzling People. He acts like a psychopath, the God of the Old Testament. He worships you one minute, he hates you. He loves you one minute, he hates you the next. You have to worship him no matter what. He punishes you for the littlest thing. It's constantly psychopath. It's totally psychopathic.
Wow. Yeah, you're right. Thank you.
And even look at the Genesis story, like when Eve. When the serpent told Eve, look, this guy's a bully, he punished mankind for that.
Yeah.
So, religion is not good. Organized religion is not good for this stuff.
Yeah, it seems like it's just perpetuated it.
I agree.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Green Meadow. We are speaking with Thomas Sheridan. You can help support him and learn more about Thomas's research at his website, www.thomassheridanartsblogspot.com, where you can also enjoy his music by his band, The Sulphur Factory, and purchase his artwork. Thomas, we're going to move on to ethical questions, and the first question is from Herm.
Hi, Thomas.
Hiya.
Actually, just going back a little bit on your previous comments about the Bible there, it reminded me of something that Robert Anton Wilson said, something like the Bible tells us to be like God, and then on page after page it describes God as a mass murderer. This may be the single most important key to the political behavior of Western civilization, and I guess also in terms of psychopaths. But the question is that as a result of your work and the work of others, it seems like there is a widening societal discussion of psychopathy. My question relates to early identification and possibly prevention of harm to others. So what advice would you give a teacher, a coach, or a parent who realizes they are having to cope with a child exhibiting psychopathic behaviors?
Yeah, I've actually been dealing with some people about this recently. They contacted me with awful stories. Well, the first thing is that you're legally stuck with that child until they're 18. So there's nothing you can do about it. I've heard nothing but bad things when they take them to therapists or child psychiatrists. The psychiatrists and psychologists will do nothing to. They will do everything except actually call the child a psychopath. They're very reluctant to do that. And they will have all these sort of like things like oppositional defiance disorder and all these kinds of other things. The child does usually get more and more out of control, try to destroy their family. Now, one of the things people think about psychopaths that's very common is that they all torture animals when they're children. That's actually not always the case in psychopaths. Some actually don't do that. But the ones that do, and a lot of normal little boys will actually kill animals now, but they'll do things like kill insects, things like that. It's almost like an evolutionary thing. It's probably like a hunter-gatherer drive or something. But a psychopathic child will kill animals on an industrial scale. I'm talking about they will kill thousands of frogs, and they'll have things like they'll be killing cats, they'll be killing birds, and they'll be devising devious methods to do this. So that's it. So that's one thing that you should look out for right away. If you have a little boy and he has an unhealthy, a really sadistic streak in terms of killing animals, that's a red flag. But you make notice of these red flags as they're happening. Another one would be that the kid will have absolutely no ability to take responsibility for anything. Nothing will ever be their fault. They'll always try to blame the parents or blame somebody else. A psychopathic child these days will very often report their parents to social services with false allegations of being molested and things like that, and abuse. But then a lot of them will be doing that. In a psychopathic child, she will become sexually active as soon as she hits puberty, and she'll learn right away that she can use her sexuality to control men. And she'll often have older boyfriends, much older boyfriends. I'm talking about a 14-year-old girl will have I know it's illegal, but it'll still happen. She'll be having sex with a 19-year-old boyfriend, and she might even be moving in with him by the time she's 16. And she will not listen to her parents if they tell her to do anything. Things like compulsive shoplifting and not caring. Doing things like causing terrible financial and other strains on the family and not giving a damn and thinking it's a joke. Having a smirking, snarly demeanor, and also little things like their relationship with other children. They will generally have friends that are a really strange bunch, kids that don't seem compatible with them. And if you observe it for a while and they are a psychopathic, a young psychopath, you'll see that all these children will be enablers for them in one way. Some older ones will be used to buy cigarettes, things like that. They'll steal other children's toys but won't share their toys with other kids. They're generally not responsive to hugs and stuff like that. So, again, the kid may be normal. The kid may not be a psychopath, and it's just a difficult child. But you must start taking notes and paying careful attention, and always assume that child is not a psychopath until the undeniable happens and you have to deal with it. Now, how do you deal with that then? Well, you got to get rid of this kid, this person, this child. I know it's an awful thing to say, but this is what it's like.